This is a married couple on the line. Oh, boy. Let's go out to Mike in Oklahoma. What's up, dude?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I don't know, man. I see the line. Jenna gave me a line of what this call's about. And then she just said, oh, yeah, his wife's on. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be okay. And you're asking for this, right?
I'm asking for it.
Oh, geez. Okay. All right. So let's bring on your wife, Tara. Cool?
Yep. Let's bring her on.
Oh, gee. Are you all in the same house right now?
We're actually outside my mother-in-law's house in Colorado. We're sitting in separate cars right now.
So y'all are having this conversation at your mother-in-law's house.
Yeah.
All right. While I'm talking to her, I want you to download an app called Hotels.com because you may need it. All right.
Okay.
And I have no affiliation with them. I just know they got lots of hotels. All right. Let's bring on Tara. What's up, T-Money?
Hey, how are you?
I'm probably better than y'all are about to be. What's up?
No, we already knew what we were getting ourselves into. So I think you're spot on with the intro.
Oh, boy. All right. Let's do this. All right. So, Mike, I'm going to do something a little bit different. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, I'm just going to read you what the byline is that Jenna has put in my monitor. Okay.
Okay.
And then I'll let you tell the story.
All right.
And Tara and Mike, have y'all talked about everything? Are we sure?
We have talked about everything.
All right.
Yes.
Here we go. Let's dance. So it says underneath Mike from Edmond, Oklahoma, in my monitor, it says, wife and I have been working through infidelity on my part. She's pregnant now, Mike's struggling with our lack of sex life. Is that correct?
Correct.
Sure wish she wasn't on the phone. All right, let's do this, dude. Let's do it. All right, walk me through it, Mike.
All right. So basically our story is infidelity on my part. It's been 2.5 years since my confession. We've been in therapy, a recovery group. We're part of a very strong community. We actually co-lead a marriage group of other couples that are restoring their marriages after infidelity and pornography addiction. Tara's actually in her second trimester. We had a miscarriage back in May. And basically, we're just struggling with our sexual intimacy after the infidelity, after the miscarriage. And I actually feel selfish. I feel really selfish for even wanting to have sex with her since she's not feeling well during her pregnancy. But this is something we've talked about, and we need help in this area. So.
Okay, cool. So, great job. That was you were really concise and you kind of put it all out there. So I'm proud of you. And I heard a lot of reflection in there. It wasn't a lot of, well, this happened and this happened. You took a lot of ownership there. So that's awesome. Tara, what's your side of the story?
Well, we have done a lot of work, just like he said. I mean, we have, after something as earth-shattering as infidelity, you have to start from ground zero, and that's what we've done. I mean, we have literally, there was nothing left after that. And we have, like you said, gone to years of therapy. We still go. We have these accountability groups. So the communication and the transparency, we talk about everything. There's no, so we do have a really good foundation. I know we're only 2.5, almost 3 years into after infidelity, but we've made a lot of progress. So it's just that infidelity has, not infidelity, intimacy has always been a challenge. Just his upbringing of abuse as a child starting around 5, and then, introduction to pornography starting at 5. So that's kind of where his journey started. And then mine was the opposite. I didn't have touch from my parents, hugs and kisses. And so I could just live the rest of my life and not be touched probably and be totally fine. So you could see how it was an explosion waiting to happen when we got married. Right. But so we just, we worked through the infidelity and we continue to. And then when we got pregnant in May, and we lost that baby, it was really, really hard because we never thought that we would be married, much less have another child. And then when we lost that baby, it's really, really hard. And then now that I'm pregnant again, it's the trauma from not only the trauma from losing the baby, pregnancy after loss is one thing, but then you add in, all the stuff with the infidelity kind of came out once our daughter was just born. So there's kind of that impending, okay, are we going to do this again once we have another baby? And then there's the fear of losing the baby. And then I've just been really, really sick on top of it all. So it's just like this like triple-edged sword, it feels like. I'm like, if I don't have sex with him, like I might throw up on you, but it's like, I don't, it's like our intimacy is, it's, you know what I mean? It's like a really big deal for us, because if we don't have intimacy for months at a time, like, is he going to spiral again back into this, this hole that he's dug himself out of? So it's just like super complex.
Okay. So it's super complex, and we can pull some pretty clean strings on it. Okay. And level things out a bit. Is that cool?
Yeah.
I know y'all have both been to counseling. I'm going to bypass probably a year of therapy, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of cut to the chase on some things, just to make this like, that way it's not like a 5-hour call. And I'd love it as y'all continue. I'd love to have you back on almost recurring, and we can kind of walk through what this looks like if y'all are ever interested in that, okay?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested.
So I'm getting to a place where I wrote a whole book on trauma, right? And where you go from here, and the importance of our childhood stories. I think those stories are really important to peel back and uncover, right? And I think the challenge remains is whether I'm working with people in marginalized communities. I spent my whole career doing that. I don't talk about that on the show because I don't want I don't want other people's marginalization to be how I move my career for, right? But I spent 20 years doing that. I've sat with people who lost everything. I've sat with people like you guys whose marriage is in ash, and you're deciding, are we going to do this, or are we going to, like, whatever, what are we doing next, right? But every single time I've sat with somebody and they're sitting in the trauma, we always land on this one core question: what are we going to do now? And 2.5, almost 3 years removed from the affair, the infidelity, right? Or multiple affairs, or whatever it happened to be. I want to really challenge y'all to not go back to, well, when he was 5, he experienced this. And I didn't have touch, and so I experienced this. Because where we are now is you both committed to being in a marriage that's here right now.
Right.
Right? And so those stories might play into why our nervous system responds the way it does with those GPS pins I talk about all the time, right? It might light me up, or it might do this or do this. But every day I have a choice as to what this day is going to look like, period. And I might have to practice for as much as a decade to turn the corner on some things, but I am here now. Okay.
Right.
So I want to honor and know that those past stories are there, but I want to spend the bulk of my energy in the present moving forward. Is that cool? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
Okay. So in real quick terms, when you're like, I don't want sex, I don't want him to be touched, like I don't feel good, I haven't gone to the bathroom in 8 weeks, and I feel like I'm going to throw up every day, and oh my gosh, and I just feel all bloaty and gross, and my parents didn't even, I want that part to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? I want to live where we are right now, because here's why. When we live in the right now, you have to take ownership of what happens next. It can't go back to, well, they did this. And that goes the same for you too, Mike. Like, it's not weird. You're not broken. And I applaud you for saying it out loud. I want to have sex with my wife a lot. And I would prefer to have sex and her not barf on me. That makes it weird, right?
Yeah.
And we don't talk about this enough. Men don't talk about this enough. I don't know many guys outside of some sort of pathology who wants to have what I would call duty sex or chore sex, right? Like, here she is, just getting off sex. Like, well, she's sick and and feeling gross and pregnant, but she's going to take one for the team. Like, I don't know many guys who enjoy that.
No.
Right? And so, Mike, here's what I want to get at with you, and I'm sure you've been through some of this with counseling. And I could do a whole 5-week episode, 5 weeks of this on the show. Men have been funneled into this world where sex is the only form of intimacy that is acceptable. It's okay. It's the only tool we have. And you stack that on top of your childhood, which your nervous system was wired with pornography into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like sensational sex performed by professionals, right?
Right.
That's how you grew up. And you have childhood abuse, sexual abuse, or physical abuse? Or what did you experience as a kid?
Yeah, just a lot of other kids around my age, just a little bit older, pretty much making me engage in sexual acts with other kids.
There you go.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's surprisingly common and surprisingly frustrating and disturbing, right? So both all at the same time. Can I go one step deeper with you both on the phone?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Mike, sometimes the layer beneath the I want to have sex is I love deeply. I would die for, but I don't like my wife. I don't like our conversations. I don't like the interactions. I don't like how she's always complaining about me. I don't like that she doesn't desire me the same way I desire her. And pornography solves that problem instantly. A woman at work who laughs at my jokes and only sees a curated version of myself, who thinks my text emojis are hilarious, that works until it blows up everything, right? Or here's another one. Mike has created a world. How long have y'all been married?
8 years.
8 years.
How many kids?
1.
One. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mike has a world where he's got a one child, didn't really understand the depth and gravity and feelings and emotions around a miscarriage. I talk to men who feel it as deep or deeper than their wives, and then I talk to men who are like, I don't get it. Like my wife is sobbing and I don't know what to do and everything I do is wrong because it's not bothering me the same, right? And because everybody grieves different. And what you do to control yourself during those seasons is you just shut the machine down. You build a life where you feel completely dead. You go to autopilot. And autopilot keeps you off pornography. Autopilot keeps you out of another affair. Autopilot also keeps you out of trouble because you're not saying the right things after a miscarriage. Autopilot keeps you out of, I don't really understand what this little kid running around here doing it, and I just know that my wife's telling me I'm doing it wrong all the time. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so we create a world where sex is the only time we feel alive. That's it. It's the only time I can get my heart rate up past, 75 beats a minute is if I'm having sex. And so here's why I tell you that. A lot of the conversations about I want to have sex, I want to have sex, I want to have sex have to do with the life we've created for ourselves.
Okay.
And sex, everything. My feeling alive, getting my heart beat up. I don't have any hobbies. I feel like I'm failing at my house. I feel like I don't like my wife. I feel like she doesn't like me. All of that gets dumped on one slide on a water slide at a water park, and it's, well, let's just do it. Let's just have sex. And if I can increasingly push the boundaries while we're having sex and go to this position or this thing or this weird, after 8 years, you kind of start pushing the boundaries on most everything. We've tried it or we've thought about it or I'm trying to get her to read my mind and do some things that she like, what? Right? All of it.
Right.
And then you have that one person that you run into and she already knows all of it and she brings it up and you're like, oh my, right? So these things happen supernaturally. I mean, not supernaturally like Superman, but like it's just a natural progression here. What I want you all to begin to ask yourself is, what does our intimacy and desire look like outside of having sex? Have y'all heard me talk about the gas pedals and brakes?
I don't think I have.
Okay. I want y'all to order a book by Emily Nagoski called Come As You Are, C-O-M-E as you are. The cover of the book, you're going to get it and go, you can't be serious. I'm serious. Get that book, and I want y'all to order it, and I want you to read it together, okay? It's a book for women about women's sexuality, but it's been incredibly instructive to the men who I've asked to read it, myself included. Here's where it's so important. It talks about the myth of a sex drive. It's not real. It's not a thing. We've been taught that women have sex drive light to men. It's not true. Sex and intimacy is this series of gas pedals and brakes. What does that mean? That means I want to create a world where there are as few brakes as possible and as many slammed on gas pedals as possible. Mike, it may stun you to find out that dishes in the sink are a break to your wife. She doesn't know why. You don't know why. You just know that when you're like, hey, let's have sex. She's like, well, I got to go clean the kitchen. You hear that as she would rather have a clean kitchen than be with me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What she's dealing with is 200 years of feminine baggage about what your house is supposed to look like if you actually love your husband. And so for her, I can't even be in the moment knowing that I'm failing him out there in the kitchen with dishes in the sink. And I'm making that up. I'm just inventing that, right?
Right.
I cannot have sex with you until bedtime's done perfectly. And you're thinking, we just lock the door. Let's party, right?
Yeah.
And so what I've seen, Dr. Nagoski's book is extraordinary, but what I've seen and heard all across the country is couples backing out of the bedroom conversation. And by the way, there is a moment we got to put sex on the calendar. We have to, can we hold hands one night? Can we do the John Delony erotic envelope system where you put 5 things in an envelope and she puts 5 things in an envelope and we just commit over the next month, we're going to pull one of these things out a week or one of these things out twice a week or one of these things out every 2 weeks. And one of them may just be holding hands. And Mike, you're going to go, son of a, right? And it might be in the morning you pull it out and Tara, it's regular, boring married sex. Then you know, okay, Mike, here's all the breaks I've got going for me.
Mm-hmm.
Laundry, the dishes, the this, the that, the thought of you looking at pornography again. Our Netflix history, which I stumbled on and saw that you were watching whatever. These are all breaks for me. And Mike goes, cool, I got it. What else? Right? So we're going to have the brakes and gas pedals conversation. And gas pedals, what are the things that turn me on? What are the things that turn me on? I don't want to get too detailed into my house, but last night I cleaned the kitchen up. I put all of the rags, like the dirty rags, I put them in the washer and washed and dried them. I emptied the dishwasher after stuff was done. I cleaned it. I just went around and it wasn't to try to have sex. It was, I now know what my wife walks in the door and her shoulders drop and she's like, oh, amazing. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? We're creating a world and her vice versa with me. Here's the last thing. Mike, you're not broken for wanting sex while you're married. You're just not. And Tara, your body is not yours anymore. You share it. And how old's your little one?
Our daughter just turned 4.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your body's a jungle gym, and it has been for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're dealing with pregnancy loss.
Yeah.
You're having that every day, every time you have gas, every time your heartbeat accelerates a little bit, every time you get a weird movement, you're like, oh, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? Right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, you don't understand how much Tara is not breathing during the day, holding her breath.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And Tara,
Mm-hmm.
we could talk about sex. I don't think you know how much Mike loves you.
Yeah.
In a crazy way. And I think the only way Mike has been given permission by himself and his upbringing and his culture is I can demonstrate that by having sex with you or going and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And would I be right to say, Tara, there's a whole bunch of other things that serve as breaks in your mind and in reality?
Oh, yeah.
Can you give me 2 of them real quick?
I mean, you were spot on. I was laughing when you were talking about like dishes and like literally like the dog's bowl being filled up with food. You know, just like the smallest things. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just like one less thing I have to do and worry about. So you were just spot on with all of the breaks you were talking about. Like I resonate with those.
So I want you guys to go out and have a date. And I want you to spend a week thinking about, here are the things that really turn me on. And here are the things not that turn me off, like bad breath or, right, you're like, you haven't showered. Not like that turn me off. But prohibit me, keep me from getting in the mood.
Okay.
And I want y'all to write those down. And what you're going to do is give each other a roadmap to each other.
Okay.
And that's different than, hey, can we like start with oral sex and then go to regular sex and then move. That's peripheral. You'll get to those spots. But before that, what if we created a world that I walk in and my shoulders drop, and then we can say, "Are you up for it tonight? You want to party?" And she's like, "I'll party." Or, "We can party, but I'm going to barf on you." And Mike is like, "That's a risk I'm willing to take," right?
Right.
But Tara, imagine a world where you go to put your 4-year-old down and you get done singing the song and you come out and the dishes are taken care of and the dog's taken care of. And Mike, the whole time you're like, "I've been working all day, bust." I don't know, who gives a crap? This is about creating a world for your wife. And Mike, you're honest about, here's the things that turn me on. A text message in the morning, a morning hug, sexy text messages throughout the day. And maybe, Tara, you got to put text reminders on your calendar, whatever it is. But let's work through creating a world outside of the bedroom. And I've just heard it over and over and over and over and over that often the bedroom issues begin to very practically transform themselves. We'll link to the book in the show notes, but I want you two guys to pick it up today. Buy it. That's your Christmas present to yourselves. Read that book all the way through, and it's going to be eye-opening for you, Tara, who grew up in a no-touch, no-discussion home. And Mike, you are going to get a humanity behind the pornography that you consumed since you were 5 in a way that you probably have never imagined. Never imagined. Go check it out. Thank y'all for calling. Hey, call back anytime. I'd love to have y'all on. If y'all try this out, you'll have the brakes and gas pedal conversation, and it fails spectacularly, call me back and have me on, and I'll have you on the show, and we'll talk through it. Or if it starts working and slowly leaning in the right direction, I'd love to have that conversation too. And we can get more concrete examples about sex. We can go down whatever avenue you want to go to. But I love that y'all are having the question. And man, talk about an amazing example of what life after infidelity can look like. 2 people who said, let's rebuild the whole thing from the floor up.